And that's how it begins. Oh my goodness. Glug, glug. What's up, guys? Yes, we are milking this for every ounce that we can get out of it. Harley Sportster S. Chase is dying.
Oh my god,
The timing.
Bo gives me no countdown. He just, all I hear is click.
I like to capture that raw, and it's the end of the show. All right, thanks, guys.
All right, guys. Woo! Welcome to episode 21, live on Two Wheels.
Fair warning.
Yeah, give them the warning.
This is going to be a shit show.
Not even a technical shit show. This is like a, we've got the technical side down.
We know what we want to talk about. We have done zero preparation. I have like 6 questions.
So let's do it right.
Yep.
Guys, welcome to Live on Two Wheels. This is your weekly motorcycle live show. We are going 21 weeks strong and have not skipped an episode, so you can give us a clap by hitting the like button, especially if you're here live. Conveniently, this show is also available in podcast form if you do not like looking at us, and it is available on all of your favorite podcast platforms, including such favorites as Spotify, Google Podcast, and of course, Apple Podcast. And if you're listening on Apple Podcast, we would love to get a review from you. Appreciate that. Okay, today, ladies and gentlemen, there's no sugarcoating it. We are milking this thing as much as we possibly can. This is 3 weeks in a row.
Come at me in the comments. I don't care.
Yeah, but this has been...
This is different because this is like the...
Everything happened in the way it happened. We had no control about that. But today, we're not talking about what we think the Sportster S from Harley looks like or what the stats say.
No speculation on this one. You wrote it.
Yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
I don't even know where I am or what day it was or is. I've traveled time. I have traveled time, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, literally, that's what we do every day.
So
that's how time works.
That's a great. We're not. Okay, we're not going to go down that road. We are going to talk about the Sportster S. I literally just got back from the press launch.
5 o'clock this morning.
My plane got here at 5 this morning. Heather and I. Is somebody cutting wood here now? Is that a thing we do at 5 on Fridays?
Yes.
Okay, yes, confirmed. All right, we were wondering. So, guys, my plane got in.
Fighter.
My plane got in at 5. Thanks, Bo. Appreciate it. Just go ahead. Plane gets in at 5. Heather picks me up at... Well, no, it got in a little after 5. She picks me up at 6 at the airport. We drove straight here. I dropped my footage off to Bo, went home, slept for 4 hours. Bo edited the press launch video. Mm-hmm. I think you just got done rendering it, right?
Yeah, like about 40 minutes before this.
Yeah, so I think we're going to post that tomorrow. It's going to go live. We're trying to hit the ground running because I know you guys want to know a lot, and we're going to talk about it today, but you guys are going to actually see the video tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about my experience.
I think we should attack it this way. All right, because I thought about this. Like, oh, then what? People are gonna watch the video tomorrow. And I'm like, screw it. This is like spoiler zone.
I'm not scared to say stuff here that we say in the video.
Right. I'm gonna ask questions. We're gonna have a conversation about this bike. And it is going to be a lot of the stuff that's covered in the video and the subsequent video that's going to come out about the review. But
right.
I mean, you guys are the real G's, and
the audience for the live show is super small compared to the.
I just noticed that it says episode 20 and not 21, so I'm gonna fix that.
What says 20? The title shows Live on Two Wheels number 21.
No, it's my thing. Don't worry about it.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, guys, our video will come out tomorrow, which the video is a whole different thing. You guys are going to actually see me writing and talking about it, whereas I'm just going to give you guys the information here. I don't think it would spoil the video for you guys because as you guys know my background. I come from the naked side. I come from the
No,
sports
I'm sorry?
side of right. I come from the. I was born
You actually
naked.
should see him out there. He just like rides around with in his birthday suit.
Jeez, don't nobody want to see that.
Butt naked
so,
willies.
So you guys know typically I'm riding naked bikes. I'm riding super sports. That's what I built my channel on. And that's one of the reasons we were so surprised that Harley sent me out there or asked us to come out, because I have no experience. That was my first ride on a Harley. I've never ridden a Harley before, so that was crazy.
Mhm.
So I'm coming at this, and I noticed this when I was out there. I'm coming into this ride such a different perspective than everybody else that's there, including the other YouTubers that are there. But I also think that is so incredibly important. For one, just for the perspective, but for the perspective of the people that Harley is essentially pushing this bike to.
Well, it's not just that. It's like you get like a confirmation bias, a feedback loop. If you only invite people who are into that kind of thing to your thing,
Right.
then chances are it's going to be a positive experience. You don't learn anything from it. You don't get a different perspective. Whereas if you go like, oh, you don't juggle? Why don't you come to our juggling convention and come check it out? It's like, I've
Right.
never juggled in my life, and come check it out.
Right.
That's what happened with me with Dragon Con. And like,
Really?
I was like, oh, I'm like in a podunk town, in West Georgia,
Right.
and somebody's like, oh, there's this convention with all this nerd stuff and things like that.
Right.
So it's the same kind of you're into motorcycles.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a cruise or not. It just happens to be that you are into.
It was definitely a cruiser, though. 100%. Oh, wait, before we get into it, guys, mullet update. Still got the hair. We thought we were going to cut it, and it was like, nope, not happening. So that's where we currently are. You guys are going to have to ask Miss C2Dub in the comments how far it's going to go, because it's basically her decision. Okay, so for the people listening and watching that don't know what the Sportster is, let's give a super brief understanding so people can kind of be updated. So for you guys that aren't really in the Harley space, which I think is a pretty large amount of our audience.
First off, like I said, I love your wife so much.
She said I'm mullet gang for life.
Neck tat,
Love my
neck
wife.
tat.
So if you guys that
Joe
don't
Dirt
know,
over there.
hey man, it is what it is. Embrace what you got. For you guys that don't know, the Harley Sportster S, the Sportster line is a classic line that Harley has had since
57.
the 1950s. Got it.
57,
Okay.
yeah.
It was really important back in the day, kind of groundbreaking line that really established Harley, I would say, right? From based on the stuff we've been talking about lately. Over the time, Harley has kind of moved away from the Sportster line, and it has become less of the one of the least sales of the lines that they're currently selling. And recently they came out with their new Revolution Max engine, which is their brandy new engine that they kind of like planted this flag in the industry of like, hey, here's an adventure bike, you know, got everybody's attention with the Pan America.
Yeah.
It's a adventure bike, relatively competitive looking adventure bike for the market from Harley Davidson. Kind of, whoa, what the hell's going on over here?
Breaking from their usual.
Total, like it. I was talking with some of the people out there. I honestly think they put the Pan America out because it would cause the most
We've had this discussion on this show, like 100%. I think they were willing to take the loss if it never sold, but like a third of it.
I don't think they even made the Pan America to sell the
Well,
fucking bike.
that's
Dude.
what
They literally did it as a publicity
they
stunt to be like,
they could
here's
be
an
like,
engine.
exactly.
Here's
They
an
want to
engine.
be like, oh yeah, cool. Now that you're here,
Well, because imagine, there's another conversation I was having. Imagine if they just put the Rev Max engine, had never put the Pan America out, and then did the Sportster S. Everybody would be like this. That's a cool looking bike. Oh, new engine? Cool.
Yeah.
But now after this Pan America thing, like, solid publicity move, if that's what it is. I mean, for all, we've done research on
I'm
it.
pretty sure that's all it was.
It's a pretty good bike, though. So it's kind of like a dual purpose. It's like, hey, we're going to pull this publicity stunt and at the same time have a relatively decent motorcycle. I don't know if it's as real competitive adventure-wise with everything else in the class, but you're talking about a really competitive class.
Well, somebody in the, let's see who it was. It was Biker Bug said it. Pan Am's decent. It's not a Beamer beater, but it's good.
but it's not supposed to be. I don't
Right,
think.
right.
So anyway, Harley debuts this Rev Max engine with the Pan America. Then, second bike they're putting out with the Rev Max engine, also it's the Rev Max T.
Yeah.
So it's slightly modified. We'll talk about that in a minute. But they put it in the Sportster, so now you have the Sportster S, which is their like sporty platform. That is the bike that they did the press launch for. Now, I know a lot of you guys might think we're milking the Sportster S thing, but truly, it is literally how the cards played.
Yeah.
It's almost like Harley planned this shit
Look,
because
that's what we do.
like they played us like they were playing 3D chess, and we're over here with checkers because we make a video about a bike that's about to be released, and just happenstantially it gets released on a Thursday. So that next Thursday we do our live show about it, and then the next week I fly out to ride it. Like, okay, fair move, Harley. I see what you're doing. Regardless,
Well, so the interesting thing, the thing to take away, I like to look at these moves from like a Baldur's Gate style view, where I'm not like bird's eye, but I'm like,
I'm not familiar with what you're talking about.
you know those old isometric RPG games where it's like a little bit up in the sky?
It's kind of like like Final
Diablo
Fantasy Tactics.
No. So this is like, think like Diablo.
Oh, so a little like a drone following you. Type
Exactly.
thing.
So
Okay.
I like to look at it from that. So I'm not super high up, and it's not just like
Right.
what I can.
You're not playing a war tactics
Right.
game.
So when I see them do this, like this kind of playing the game ahead of the players, I think like, well, that's so much different than what they have consistently done in the past, because
Right.
Harley Davidson for the longest time has been 100% a name icon. That's what they've built their brand on. So when it's time to like push a new thing, they go grab the flashiest, newest, heartthrob and put them in Harley gear and throw bikes at them and say, let's make content with that people. The Pan America and the Sportster S are the first time I've seen where there's a heavy focus on content creator and social media interaction. There were still magazine people there, but
no, and it was still mostly magazine
Yeah.
people there. It was but that feels the exact same as all the other press launches we've been going to.
Yeah.
We are outweighted. We being the media
independent
YouTube side.
content creator.
Yeah, versus the magazine. So there's definitely more of those guys. But the fact that like how many press launches have we been to, and like YouTubers are fucking in every one of them.
Yep.
So there's definitely
It
that.
might be a little light at the end of the tunnel. Like some of the higher ups are going like, we have to adjust
right.
the optics of our company because we can't carry it forward on name alone, because name holds less weight than value.
Okay, so I was out riding the Sportster S yesterday. Flew out to LA. Rode all day. Woke up at 6 LA time. I think we got back to the hotel at 3 LA time.
Yep.
I went to the airport at 7 LA time. Got here at 6 this time.
Yeah.
So that's been the trajectory.
That's
so
a lot of stuff in such a short time.
yeah, we like bro,
This was
we
a
were
lot of first for you.
yeah, it was a lot. So yeah, if you guys are listening or watching and don't know, I've ridden cruisers before. Obviously, we built a bobber on season 3 Wreck Bike Rebuild, and I think if you dig back in the archives of first rides enough, I might have ridden 2, maybe.
Yeah,
And that's
my bike
stretching
doesn't
it.
count. You just rode it around your neighborhood for a
Yeah,
second. Because you were
so-
like, big bars, that's hilarious.
Right. So my experience, I don't remember riding a motorcycle with forward controls. And from what I understand, from what everybody was telling me, the forward controls on the Sportster S are not forward. They're like semi-forward. They're not like full leg extension type thing.
Very few forward controls are.
Oh, okay.
Right. So that's the thing.
But
that
exactly this, I don't have a lot.
you didn't have
to-
a frame of reference for
Yeah.
like forward controls. You thought you were going to be like
I thought my legs were just going to be all the way
You're going to be
extended.
lawn chairing it. Like,
Right.
I'm on the beach.
So I did ride the mid-control model that the Sportster S is offered in.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you guys.
Well, so I already know that the mid controls are where it's at as far as you're concerned.
Well, something I wanted to say is because of where this bike is.
Yeah.
I really feel I don't know why. Obviously, I didn't talk specifically to Harley about this or why they made the decision they did. But as a motorcycle that, from my perspective, is this big fancy door that you can open up into a whole new world of motorcycling. If you are going to make that bike for that purpose, which I really think they did, why would you not offer that bike to where if Chase goes to a Harley dealer, you know, I walk in the door and I'm like, guys, I love the Sportster S. I want it. I've never ridden a cruiser before. I would like it in mid-control model. Because I have to do that, I now have to pay $800 for mid-controls. I wish they'd have offered it. Which one do you want?
I think,
and then let's
let's just scrub that. Like, you have the choice to change it. I'd say keep that. They should have released this with mid controls. Like every.
Oh, you think period it should have been mid control,
and then have the option for.
Interesting.
Like that's the biggest thing that I think they did wrong.
I want to say that, but I didn't want to be biased in how I like riding.
So like the Sportster and like the old Dynas and stuff, mid controls were where it's at. Like my bike, I have my controls forward 7 inches, which was fine when I had T-bars on it.
Yeah.
But then I put big bars on it, and now I'm like this. So like mid controls give you that plant and allow you to like muscle the bike around, especially with a super torquey engine. Like you want to have some fun on it. You don't want to be like.
Well, so here's a question I had because I spent the way we kind of broke the day up, guys, just to give you guys kind of an idea of what the riding was like. From 6 to 9. We woke up and kind of did some downtown LA stuff, but it was all for photos and videos, like just it's how press launches go. And I had a mid-control bike that morning.
Yeah.
I recorded that in the video because that was going to be the first time I was riding on the motorcycle. And I was on the mid-control bike. Loved every second of it. It was a super it wasn't like super comfortable because it was still a little weird. My feet were still in a position that I wasn't used to. But I definitely I was able to get on that bike and within 5 minutes I was like, okay, cool, this is how this goes. Then later in the day, we got back, had breakfast, and then we went out for the actual ride. And when we went out for the actual ride, it was going to be city stuff on the way to Canyons, which, bro, by the way, from downtown LA to Canyons
it's like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is happening in the world?
That is the best part of LA. So
I was telling Heather this. LA
I just fist bumped Anthony because he just.
Oh, thank you, Anthony. So I was telling Heather this because I've never been to LA. Yeah. So everybody has this perception of LA. LA is not my vibe.
We were talking about that before. It's a dirty, broken city, and I love it.
It is. That is, and you said that without me saying anything. Yeah. It is a dirty, broken, disgusting city, and not my thing. That's its
charm,
I guess. But the fact that was probably one of the biggest things early on is like within 15 minutes you're on like legit roads. Like I would take a lunch break to do that every day if Blood Mountain or Richard B. Russell was that close. Yeah. Anyway. So we get back, had lunch at 9:30. We rolled out, and I was on the regular control model. So it's regular or mid controls. That's I'm not going to say forward because it's not really forward controls. It's just the default.
It technically is.
It's whatever the bike comes with.
Yeah.
Honestly. So we go and we get to the kind of curvy roads, and guys, Harley created this route. They created a route for a cruiser bike, and they take you straight to the friggin' technical riding. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, ballsy move for a bike that is not really made to do that. My plan was once we got into the mountains, I was going to swap with one of the other journalists and get a mid-control bike because I felt like I would have a more enjoyable time with the mid-controls, in technical riding. what ended up happening is I rode the mid-control bike very little, and I was actually on the regular control bike
You get to do a mountain
majority
run
of the day.
like a quick mountain run on one.
I got to do a media turn.
Yeah.
So we stopped at the top, like it's not the top, but like we stopped about halfway through. All the camera and video guys set up, and it was like this one set of turns. It was like 1, 2, 3, probably 4 turns, and you just do that. You know, I think we did it like 7 times total, like there and back. I did literally one run with mid controls, and I can tell you, like, we can go ahead and knock this out now. Coming from a sport perspective, mid controls, what they do for you, they don't give you any more lean angle. You get literally, you can lean the bike over exactly the same amount versus mid controls and regular controls. The thing that you get with mid controls, at least from my perspective,
You dig your heels
is a ability to poise yourself on the bike easier, because when your
you're
feet are out
planting,
front of you,
you're counterweighting.
you can actually move around better. So
Because you can't hold on to the bike the same way, so you have to use the rest of your body. That's the biggest difference riding a cruiser to a sport bike. Is yes, you can clamp on with your thigh in like turns and stuff,
right,
but like for the most part, you're using your legs
right.
for all of that.
Well, so
balance.
another thing I wanted to ask you on the show, that, you know, being in the regular model bike, I found myself having a hard time figuring out how to have my feet on the pegs. So as a sport bike rider, it's, you know, if this is my whole foot and this is my peg, my foot's like this the whole time.
Yeah.
And that's just the way my leg tucks up. And that's why the way I like it. In the mid controls, I could do that. Just the ball of my foot was on the peg. But with the forward controls,
I find it easier to use my heel.
I moved it all around, and and then I tried to have my foot angled. I tried to have my foot flat.
I don't know how it is for other people. For me, on the Bolt, I put on my turning foot. I will slide my foot up to its heel. The exact opposite of what you do on a sport bike. I would go this.
I tried that,
and that works for me. It may not work for some.
And this
other
bike
people.
is a little like this bike. I've seen a lot of comments about people talking about how like clamshell it is, because you're
not really that far for it.
No, you're not. It doesn't feel like that. But I did notice that as I was trying to figure out my foot position, my foot would kind of like, I don't know if it was the vibration or the angling, but my foot started to get like tingly, numb shit. Like, I mean, keep in mind, guys, we were riding for like 9 hours.
Yeah.
We did a lot of riding, and I was in a position on a bike that I'm not familiar with. But
I think that has a lot to do with it, because my Bolt will literally shake your fucking teeth out.
That's probably what it was.
And you just get used to it. You know where the hot spots are, because I mean, you got to think a foot peg's just attached to the frame. So
right.
Any vibration, and the suspension travel on the Sportster is small and tight. So it's like your road vibrations in fucking LA, notoriously shitty roads.
Oh my gosh.
So like I imagine a lot of that's what you're feeling, and it comes with the territory of learning.
We should probably note, because of the way you're able to talk right now about the bike, it sounds like you were there. So
No,
guys,
I was not there.
Bo has already edited the entire press launch video, so he's gone through my entire day.
Yeah.
So if you guys notice, Bo's able to talk about this bike as if he rode it.
Yeah.
The dude has literally spent all day watching videos of me riding it, talking through me riding it. So
Yay me.
good job, dude. You knocked
No,
that out.
I was so jealous, and I saw the photos of you guys at the fucking LA River, and I'm like, that's on my bucket list. I want to ride a motorcycle in the LA River, like fucking Terminator 2 style, where I'm just like fat boy, just.
Okay, please, if we ever get that opportunity, I will make sure. I would love to do that with a camera car, because I think that shot would look so
dope.
So here's, like, since we're talking about suspension,
Yeah.
I've told you guys, I have a bad back just because nature.
Yeah, you got rocked one time.
But did you see that?
Boy.
Okay, so the rear suspension, I don't know if this is normal or not, 2 inches of total travel.
That is short for even a cruiser. Like,
okay.
But not by much. But you got to think it's a matter of perspective, like percentage-wise. Like, most shocks will be like 3 to 4 inches.
So it's not that
It's not
terrible.
horrible, but like,
okay, so
that means they have to tighten it up.
Right. So,
and I saw it.
I will
from other. You were behind somebody, and I could see the back end of their bike just going.
Right. So, I don't know if downtown LA's streets are terrible.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Well, there's that. So the rear suspension is personally far too tight, and I guess it has to be because of how much travel. But dude, when you're riding on a street that's just constantly bumping, I had to stop talking sometimes because I couldn't fluidly talk and do like this sometimes. But the front suspension, bro, when we're in the freaking canyons, I felt
the bike
so
looked
okay.
planted.
I felt so fine.
That's one of the questions I had, and I kind of know the answer. Me and Brian were talking about this earlier about cruisers. Like, cruisers typically have bigger tires for the most part, right?
We'll get into the tires. So let's keep up with the suspension because the tires are actually like a
it's
surprise.
525, so I want you to keep that in mind.
Oh my good God. Okay.
I was trying to move the whole show along.
I appreciate
and you
it.
just totally shot me down.
Well,
so
I want to hit a few things. So the rear suspension, I don't know what they can do about that, but mine was so hard that I was on the LA downtown, not good.
Yeah.
In the canyons, felt great. Then on the highway on the way back, the thing Bo was talking about, I see a rider in front of me. You know how sometimes you see a car just be like, boop, and you're like, oh, there's a bump coming. So like my body knew that there was going to be a bump coming. Guys, this thing hit this bike so hard that I felt the road all the way up through my spine and into my head. Like, it was literally like my whole body was just like,
he audibly winced in pain.
Yeah,
he sounded like an NPC getting hit by an arrow.
Dude, totally. Like, I wasn't trying to make noise. Like, that is how much of a just that was. It was rough.
Some of that can be taken out by through the adjustments and stuff.
Right.
So you just have to like fine tune it.
Yeah. So
I notoriously crappy roads out there. So
right. So I'm not saying it's like, don't buy a Sportster because of suspension, but that's just something I experienced.
Yeah.
The flip side of that, in the canyons, which is where you would not take a Harley typically. I mean, you would, but it would be on a like, hey, we're just gonna cruise through this fun road.
It would be a super chill ride.
Right. It's not, but like, this was like, hey, we're gonna go to the canyons, and then there was like a talk before we went down through the canyons of like, hey, ride your own ride, because the guys in the front, they're gonna be riding their ride.
Also, there's a sheer cliff that it's hundreds of feet tall.
I have a photo.
So don't die.
I have a photo I can show you that
Ride
I sent
fast,
Heather.
don't die,
bro. In our mountains, I mean, there are some places where it's a sheer cliff, but most of the time it's you could tumble down the whole thing. These things are like gone.
It's not just that. It's the fact that
and it's all dry rocks.
And I've seen this with my own eyes. In Blood, if you go off the mountain, there's a good chance two things will happen. Either you pachinko down the fucking mountain through trees, or one of them stops your fall. So, you've got a chance. If you go off the cliff, it's like when you were in
Arizona.
Tortilla Hills, or whatever the hell it was called, right? Like, you look off the edge, and it's just like, oh, that's Red Dead Redemption. That's just a sheer cliff of dusty hurt.
Right.
It's all it is.
So,
yes, the suspension is adjustable, correct?
Yes, the suspension front and rear are adjustable, and it's like a Showa suspension. It's like a serious level of suspension.
So it felt good in the mountains.
I was super happy with it. Now, talking about the mountains, we were talking about the tires. So the tires look huge,
but they're not.
And I posted a photo. I used the wide angle on the iPhone camera, and I had a specific photo I wanted, and it just happened to be at that angle of the lens where it made the front tire look so stupidly big. Here's the thing: the front tire's big.
It's a 160,
but the way the tire is shaped,
it's bigger than some rear.
The way the tire is shaped, though, is it's very tall.
Yeah.
So what that translates to while riding it is when you dip into a turn,
it locks.
It falls into it and you're solid. But the thing that gets complicated is when you go from left. It's not like left.
Exactly
slowly
the
come
same
up,
on the Chief Bobber.
Slowly come right. When you go from I'm over here, boom, I'm over here. That going from left to right is what I'm doing. Me and
Marvel Cat had this conversation about the Chief Bobber. He preferred the Chief because it has the narrow tire. I preferred the Bobber's tires because I like that feeling of like having a little bit more meat. So when you get locked in, it takes a little bit more effort to get it over. But once you get it into its spot, it's just like thunk.
Well, I mean, I would rather have the security of feeling planted in my turn because realistically, as long as you're not at a track, most roads are not going to have super quick back and forths. They'll happen, but it's going to be rare comparative to the amount of times you're going to be sitting there locked into a turn.
Yeah.
So the wheel is big. I do feel like it. Excuse me. I feel like it matches the look of the bike.
The aesthetic. And that is also a smaller bike than I thought.
Bro. So
that picture of Blockhead.
There's a photo.
It's so massive. He like comes up to his thigh. It's like he just looks like Eddie Hall walked in and picked up a kid's bicycle.
Well, so check this out. This is so I got to the hotel. And I had gone down to the lobby because I was going to find where the like press room is, the presentation was going to be at. And there in the lobby of this hotel, there was like this big table that, you know, if you wanted to sit at and do work at, you could. I had not seen the motorcycle at this point. I had literally been dropped off like 10 minutes beforehand. And I saw a person roll a bike out from the back of the lobby into the front of the hotel, and to do that they had to go through the lobby. So it was, I was here, there was this just regular freaking dinner table, and then the bike on the other side. I saw a peek of the motorcycle, and then
what's that
it
little
was
thing?
shorter than the table.
Yeah.
All I saw was the person holding something, pushing it under a table. It is so small.
Yeah, it's much smaller than it looks in the photo.
But when you're on it, it do not feel like small bike.
Yeah.
There was one time we were in I had it in S mode, which is their like sport mode, fast mode. We were in traffic.
How is that, by the way?
What?
Their sport mode.
Oh, all right. Let's hit the modes real quick. They've got rain, road, sport, A and B. A and B are customized. You can customize
all the RDS stuff.
Everything.
Oh, that's
ABS,
awesome.
traction control, cornering, ABS, cornering, traction control, power. You can control the engine braking. I didn't mess with the custom modes because I was kind of hopping bikes all day between the mid controls and the regular controls.
If you're lucky, you don't have to use any of those things.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So I just put that thing in S mode. I started the day in rain, and then rain mode. That I can say that for the modes, you know the modes.
Yeah.
Rain mode, that's what you want when it's raining.
Super subdued.
Super subdued.
Traction
You put
control,
that thing in road
everything.
mode, it's average. You know that you can tell that you're not getting everything out of it, but I mean, you can get up and go. But bro, if you have that shit in S mode, so we're going. I think we were just leaving lunch or something like that. So we were in an area where there was a little bit more traffic than normal, and there was this car in the right lane. All the people in front of me had their right blinkers on, and I was like, oh, we need to get over. And that car was doing the thing of like everybody had their blinkers on, but it's like you can see that there's 10 motorcycles riding together. Dude, just be the dude and slow down a little bit. So they didn't do that. Me being from Atlanta, I'm like, okay, if you're not going to, I'm going to make you. So I guess I had never given the gas a hard hit because we were riding in the mountains. I'm not going to like hit the throttle hard. I'm going to ride smooth. That was the first time I hit the throttle hard, and in my head I was like, "Ooh, fuck!" Like I did not, I was not physically ready to get like
That is
yanked back.
one of my favorite and least favorite feelings. It happened on the FTR. I put it in sport mode, and I was playing around. Me and Blockhead were just like, "Brim, brim, brim," and I heard him back behind me drop a gear, and I was like, "Yeah, fuck it," and the whole front wheel just goes, and popped up a little bit, and like. There's an amount of vacuous suction that happens between you and the seat. You're just like, I'm going to die.
Well, no, it was just, you know, I think too many people use the term, but it was truly a butt pucker moment. Like, it was literally that situation. Like, I did not sign on for this amount of power right now. So I am very happy with the modes. And I've said in countless first rides, if you're gonna do modes, they need to be entirely different. And if we're gonna be honest, you need 3 modes.
Yeah.
You need rain, normal, and I want to go fast. You don't need any more modes than that. And if you do, It just needs to be custom modes. You can
Well,
just
so like on the Pan America, they have those, and then like it makes sense. It's contextual. They have like a dirt mode.
right. Yeah. So
Right.
if it's a very hyper specific
Yeah.
bike like that, absolutely. But in general, I think Harley absolutely nailed the modes on it. You can entirely tell the differences by the perfect example. By the end of the day, when I had been riding for like 8 hours at that point. We had an hour left. I was like, bro, I can't handle sport mode right now.
Yeah.
I put it in road mode, and I like that's when I was doing that little piece to camera at the end of the day. I put that thing in road mode, and I felt like, okay, cool.
Okay, so
I can just ride.
Having said that, then this goes to one of my questions because like you've ridden the original FTR 1200, and on paper, like you look at these bikes, and aside from the rider triangle, like they're the closest competitors to each other, like power and all that stuff. Like, how does it compare performance wise? Not like the style of riding, because that's going to be different because the rider triangle is different. But like power delivery, smoothness, the power band, braking, those kind of things.
This bike felt more grunty, but the FTR will feel way faster because of the triangle.
Okay,
though.
so like that's what you would expect from a cruiser to a standard.
Well,
I like hearing that because that means that like they fit their own.
I was gonna say that's the way they should be, because if you gave me the power delivery of an FTR in this thing, it would not fit the way I am as the rider on the motorcycle. I honestly, after riding it all day, the only time where I felt not really digging the power delivery was in the city in sport mode.
Because it wanted to be.
Because it does that kind of Ducati thing where if I'm just like, hey dude, I just want to go like.
That's most ride
I just
want to
go like 35.
You know what I mean?
That's it. I just want to go 35.
I felt that way on the Chief. I felt that way on the Chieftain. I felt that way on the Scout, the FTR. I felt that that is a ride by wire kind of thing where it's like, okay, you can tell if I put you in the I want to fucking go fast mode, you want to go fast.
I mean, and granted, I could have probably put it in rain mode.
Yeah.
But like, who the hell wants to be like, oh, I'm in the city. Yeah. Let me go like boop boop boop. Put it in rain mode. I feel like I would ride that bike always in sport mode.
Yeah.
If it was raining, I might put it in rain mode. And then if I was just riding and for reason exhausted, I'd put it in road mode.
In road mode. That seems pretty standard.
Yeah, I was telling the guys at Harley, I was like, you guys did a fucking bang up job on the modes. Because like
that's such a good thing to hear because like me and Brian before you got here, we were just like looking through some of the footage and just like looking at it, and it's like looking at some of the things they've done. It's like, man, this is not the Harley we've seen in the last like 10 years. Like they're making like
that's the whole point though, right?
Like the display, the TFT, the infotainment thing, the performance.
I can talk on the TFT real quick because
the fact that the engine is a structural component to the frame,
another really cool thing.
Like there's just so many choices they've made in this. It's like, so saying all that before you get into the TFT. I don't want to do that briefly because we want to keep it moving on that.
Right. Just as a note, it's 5:38.
So like, yeah, exactly. I'm trying to be aware of time since you're dead to the world. Yeah. Does it seem to you? Because like one thing I kept saying to you is like fit and finish on a Harley for cruisers is, in my opinion, better than most. Okay. Like they spend a lot of time making sure the lines are good, and the controls make sense. Like everything looks good and solid and things like that.
Right.
Nothing seems typically like pulled off a shelf. Like
everything seems purposeful.
Right. It seems like they made the design choice to do that. So my question is, with all of the tech, does it look like they cheaped out on stuff, or is it one of those things where they're just like, okay, the Harley tax is dumb. Let's see what we can do to like give people a good bike with the same quality, and more modern technology and ideas.
I'm trying to think of anything that felt out of place.
I think the only thing that you said was like the turn signal button, but that's a new thing for them because on every other Harley, it's a switch on each side. One for the right, one for the left.
I heard some people talking about that. So
in the Pan America had it where this is a relatively new thing, so I expect that to be a little mushy and they'll get it right. But like all the other buttons seemed very very like.
Yeah, the only thing that's coming to mind, honestly, and like it didn't get into the video, but like I spent a lot of time walking around that bike, feeling on stuff. The only thing that comes to mind of that felt kind of like I wish this was better, and this happens with super expensive motorcycles too. I didn't have that tactile click. So like, and I also didn't really like the placement of the turn signals.
Yeah.
They did the thing, and if I remember correctly, it's Honda does this. If you watch the first rides on Hondas, I hit the horn a lot.
Yep.
If you put the turn signals and the horn in the right way, it's hard to get to them. Yeah. I think what it hit, we were riding in a big group, so I was trying not to hit the horn. So every time I would hit the turn signal, I'm like hitting it. I'm like, did I hit it? And it's just like I can feel a marshmallow that I'm touching right now. I couldn't really tell. So I would like to see that. I will say the bike has a ton of buttons. Luckily, most of the ones on the right side, other than the ones to start the bike, are all like media. So like start your song, skip song.
So they use
the
same like directional pad on the left side for like the menuing and stuff like that. So my experience with Harley infotainment stuff is that the menus are not super intuitive. But once you know where they are and understand the button layout, then it makes sense.
So I didn't have a problem.
Okay.
I think that like I said with the dash, I feel like they did a relatively good job with the sheer amount of information that they just naturally have to show there because of what they're offering.
Okay.
I think they did a pretty good job of it.
The display is phenomenal.
The display.
The display is phenomenal.
That was the first word mess up I've had today, and I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah.
I think they did a good job with the display. I feel like they could have. There's just so many buttons.
Yeah, there's a lot of buttons.
And like Trident or Triumph. Perfect example of
evolving as we speak.
I'm trying to get there, guys. Triumph does a really good job of having few buttons, lots of ability, though.
I like Indians. It's 2 switches on the side and then 1 little button on the thumb.
Really? Yeah. So I'm really interested to see the Indians like info stuff because you've been talking a lot about that, and Harley's really the first company that I've seen to do as
great
much.
And it has a lot in it. Indian is in my experience is much easier to like just jump in and
so that's the thing about controls though is if you're gonna buy a motorcycle,
that display looks
it's going to take a week of using everything.
I mean, once
and you're
you get it, it
doesn't even matter. But all words,
even the most complicated system, once you get to know it, is fine. So, like, all right. So it seems to me, from watching what you've experienced and seeing where they're aiming this bike at, that it seems like Harley tax is less of a concern in this. The quality seems. It
seems like a polished bike for
like a premium product.
Yeah, absolutely.
It looked it. So
I love the way it looks.
All of your footage from the R5, all the slow-mo stuff, like looking at every little angle because I've had to look over it like a bunch of times.
Right.
It's like it's exactly what I expect, and the price, though still in the upper, levels of pricing,
$15,000 MSRP,
is still competitive to the rest of the market in that space, and that's not something I would have expected without cheaping out on the material.
Oh, so you're saying did they still give you that premium brand for that relatively lower price?
Right.
Yeah. I mean
the introduction of RDRS as a standard piece of equipment is amazing to me too, because like that is an optional model in the touring bikes, which I think is fucking stupid. This is a bike that they want you to tour on. That should come standard, and the fact that it's standard on the Sportster S, which I think is cool. So, like all of this being said, and this is my horrible way to segue into the next question I had.
You've taken the long way.
Yeah. You went in and in this whole thing with kind of a slightly preconceived notion of Harley because of your experience as a dealership, which is fine, because that's the only interaction you had.
And that's been my only criticism is the dealership stuff.
So now having seen the bike, seen what direction they're kind of heading, and met people at Harley proper, we'll call it.
Yeah, actual like Harley building Harley people, not Harley people.
How does that change your view on Harley as a company and cruisers in general? Like, does it give you like a little? Is this your window to say, hey, like, I could see now. I know what to look for. I can see. I got a little.
So
peek.
it's interesting because I will say this: after riding the Sportster S, I personally, me knowing the type of riding I like to do, I have no interest going any farther down that cruiser line. I like calling this thing like a muscle cruiser. I don't know what the industry term or what people want to fucking call it. I like calling it a muscle cruiser or a sport cruiser because, like, I can get on this as a person that likes riding aggressively and sporty sometimes. I can get on this, have that, whatever the vibe is that you get from sitting like this with your feet either underneath or in forward.
This is actually just ammunition for me to find bikes like that because this is an important thing. Mid-controlled cruisers typically have that feeling.
I now know I prefer mid-controls.
So like,
in that.
Like the Sporties, the Yamaha Bolts, the Dynas, all of these bikes have a more sporty feel because you're sitting in a chair, you're not lounging in a chair.
Right.
And
okay, that's a very good way to describe that.
So, but I mean, like, this was a whole new experience for you because, like, this is not the tip. Basically, what it comes down to is, like, do you see now, like, when I ride with you in the mountains on the Bolt?
I realize your limitation now.
Well,
100%.
Yeah, you realize the limitation, but you also realize why I butt right up against that limitation. That bike is built for a specific thing. I can push it to a very specific point. It is further than most people would like to push a bike like that.
Right.
I've watched your GoPro. I know what you did up there. So you were hitting that wall.
Tell the people, did I put the sport in Sportster?
Bro. No, when I tell you this,
Go see the video tomorrow.
Papa was so proud watching him in the canyons, actual canyons, just banking it. Dude,
I
full tilt. It was so good. So
yeah.
now you see that limitation that cruisers have in the mountains, but I mean, like, once you get to that, like you can have a lot of fun.
Well, so I think that
it is a different kind of ride in the mountains.
So you can't go into the mountains thinking that if a R6 is in front of you, you can follow them.
There are people that can, and I've seen it.
There is,
but
even
that's a person that's willing to go way the fuck past the limitations.
So you can have a professional rider on and I'm talking like Wyman professional rider. Yeah. You can have one of them on a Sportster S, like upper echelon rider, and you can have a middle level R6 rider, and the Sportster S might be able to stay with a middle level R6 rider just because, and that is not a hit on riders, that is a hit on physicality. That bike can only physically go over so far to carry so much weight through a turn.
I wholeheartedly disagree because I've seen it with my own eyes.
I'm talking about specifically the Sportster S.
I'm just saying in general. I've seen shittier bikes beat better sport bikes.
I'm not saying that
because
can happen.
What I'm saying is I think you're coming from it from a person like that was your first time pushing it out there. Mm-hmm. But if all you did was ride those bikes, there's a guy up in the Tail of the Dragon who fucking smokes people while he's on a Goldwing in a full race suit. Like, and those are people on R6s and Aprilias and shit like that. Like, it's not the bike's limitations. It's the person who's riding it understanding those limitations and where they can push them much better than a person who has no limitations but doesn't know how to get to where their limitations are. A sport bike if equal players are on the field, sport bike's gone. But if you're selling me a guy who's placed first in at least 2 out of the 3 last races for King of the Baggers, couldn't beat any of us on a sport bike, I highly doubt it.
Okay, so
you know what I mean?
I think there's a misunderstanding with what I'm saying. And maybe it's at what we're considering.
I don't care if a person who goes to track day like once every 2 weeks on an R6, if you put a professional rider on nearly any bike, no matter what the limitations, bro, it's done.
Okay, so I disagree.
It's done. I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes.
If you take a rider that does, let's just say that does 2 track days a month and feels and is a very confident rider, has gone to stuff like Champ School or something like that, and I would consider like a middle to upper class rider, a street rider. You can put whoever you want on a.
I mean, your experience is your barometer. I'll give you this at least that. But I've seen with my own eyes, like riders like fucking shit up on cruisers.
I'm not saying that can't happen.
Dude, my buddy Buzz outran people on a Softail Heritage. Sure, his exhausts were as sharp as daggers at the end of that day, but like, bro, it's not about the bike. It's about understanding limitations of the bike and how to overcome some of those limitations. And that's like when I ride up in the mountains on the Bolt, that's what I'm butting up against, and I understand. I think I remember you were on the Street Triple, and you just kept hearing this noise through my headset. You know, what the fuck is that? I was
but
like,
you do realize there's a physical limitation to how far things can go.
Absolutely physical limitation, but you can overcome some of those physical limitations with physics. They taught you, stop trying to lean your body over, start leaning your body over.
Right, but what is the R6 rider going to do when they can, not only their bike can lean over, but then they can lean off their bike?
I'm just saying, I've seen it.
You
with
get
my
both
eyes.
sides though, right?
I understand what you're saying, but
Okay.
I'm saying that your perspective is your experiences are your barometer. You're going by what you've seen, which is riding sport bikes nearly your entire career. What I've seen, being around cruisers, it's a much different story.
I mean, dude, I've been smoked by somebody on an adventure bike in the mountains. I get it,
Bro,
but like,
there are people on Groms up in Blood Mountain.
I mean,
they are not.
It's not the people on Groms at Blood Mountain. It's the people on the dirt bikes, supermoto guys.
Boy,
that's where physicality becomes like, do physics matter to you?
No, that's
okay. So the whole point of saying all this is the Sportster S is far more sporty than I think a lot of people are going to expect out of a Harley.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, I don't look at the Sportster S as my first experience on a Harley, because I see the Sportster S as my first experience on the new whatever word you want to use, the new era of what Harley is going to try to do to grab a new market. Yeah. I still, honestly, am going, as a YouTuber, am going to find an older Harley, or I'm going to use the word regular Harley with air quotes.
Yeah.
I want to find a regular Harley, and I want to ride that, and I want that to be my riding a Harley for the first time, because, honestly,
I think we should do it in a way that kind of makes sense for the age bracket and the style of riding. So like a lowrider S. So a Blockhead's bike was once upon a time a regular ass lowrider S, and is now Goldzilla.
But you get what I mean, though. Like, I don't think it would be fair to Harley to be like, oh, this is my first ride on a Harley. This is my first ride on a Revolution Max bike.
This is your first ride on them trying to bridge the gap and like introduce something new. And
well, so something I've noticed that, like, I think Harley is doing a really good job. You know, we talked earlier about their marketing shit, about putting the Pan Am out first. And I've noticed in my comments, because I've been posting photos and shit like that of the Sportster S. Excuse me. There have been a lot of people that are like, hey, this is the first Harley I've ever been interested in. I even told the guys at Harley this. I told them, guys, I've never ridden a Harley before, and fully transparent. I mean, you know, I have a honesty issue. I'm a little too honest sometimes. So I'm up there talking with the Harley people, who were freaking awesome people to hang out with.
Ooh, Softail Slim is a good choice.
So I'm telling these people, I was like, look, no shade to you guys. I've never ridden a Harley, and I have no want to. Yeah. Like, that is just not my ride. But this Sportster S, even if you don't, I don't think they should take
from
the
like
Rev
a business perspective.
I don't think they should take this Rev Max engine and put it in everything.
Yeah.
I think they just need to understand that this Rev Max engine fits the stuff that people like my side of the motorcycle industry want. And from what I'm kind of seeing, regular Harley people, the people that like what Harley's been doing, don't seem to be super into the Rev Max stuff.
That's
but
fine.
Is that not the whole fucking point? Like they
we
have
talked
an
about it on
entire
the last
line.
stream. It was like this is them going like, all right, top end of the scale. That's for Harley guys.
No, you have the old Harley shit
Yep.
and you have new Harley shit. I'm not saying the new is better than the old. I'm saying they need to be looked at as two entirely separate things.
That goes. I mean, like we're pretty much calling it in the air, right? Like we're saying like this. We looked at the models like the last stream and said, clearly what they're trying to do is like split the diff, right?
So this is why I really want to, and if possible, as soon as we can. I know we've got a lot of videos that like are super necessary that we have to get to that can't really talk about yet. But while I have this like recent RevMax engine experience, I hope the only way we can really do it is if Mountain gets a Harley in. But I would really love to ride
how do you
that.
feel about subscribers?
I try not to do that. I don't really want to go down that route. If we had to, I guess I could think about it, because the last time I borrowed a bike, I bended into a taxi. So, I try not to do
Full
that.
send.
Full send it.
All right, last question.
Okay.
Last question.
How much? Oh my god.
How awesome are John and Jess?
You two people are good people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it was good to.
Jess is a nice lady.
It's also the thing I love the most is that it's nice to be around people that understand the trials and tribulations of YouTubers, because I talk to you guys all the time about like, we'll put a lot of energy in a video and then it'll do terrible. And then we'll make this random video, cross helmet unboxing.
Oh Lord.
Oh, sorry.
Don't remind me.
And then it'll do really well. And I mean, you guys hear me talk. I don't really talk about it publicly, but like, I'm like, you get that kind of wordy in the back of your head where you make a video that you thought was going to be a solid video, and then it tanks, and you're like, here goes the channel. 11 years, and like obviously we had the hack of the channel, so we're still fighting back from that. But I was talking to them about these type of things, and they're just like, yeah, that happens to us too, where we'll put a video out and it'll tank. We'll put a couple of videos out.
Made some friends up there.
Well, it's like, it's just good to hear that like it's not just us that have these problems. Yeah. I don't know if it's the industry
okay,
or
so
what.
we've talked about this internally, and I don't have any problems sharing it out loud, because it's not like, I don't know, gonna pull back the curtain a little bit, but like we've been so focused on creating content and building this into what it is right now, that we've kind of put ourselves on an island. And
we have, but the thing is,
so like when you go and you're like, oh, I left the island, and then there's somebody over going like, oh, our island's fucked up too, and you're like, whoa, what?
Well, so here's the cool thing though. This is getting a little behind the curtain. I don't know how much you guys care, but I think it was like 3 or 4 months ago, me and you, we literally scheduled a day to sit in here with a whiteboard and come out with a, hey, channel's not looking good. Yeah. We really need to fix that. And we came up with like a 3 to 4 month plan, and we're on month 4. And I would say honestly, right now the channel is like 95% to where it used to be pre-hack.
Well, it's also nice to see that our efforts, like, while also not in vain and are working and helping, are also like the experience of other people in that aspect. The thing I took away from meeting both Blockhead and her two wheels is like, one, they're just genuinely some of the nicest people I've met. I loved hanging out with them. They were great to talk to. I instantly clicked with both of them.
Right.
But it's like they're two people who take this as seriously as you do.
Yeah.
And then, so
really cool
they have the same trials, tribulations, and stuff like that. And so when you get to hang out with them, and even me as like a kind of tertiary party to this, where I'm editing and I'm kind of a part of it, but not in the most direct way, like even... like that doesn't keep me from experiencing the problems that we have.
No, I mean it's an open shop. Yeah,
right.
we all talking.
So
about
like
it
being able to like talk to somebody and they go, oh yeah,
it's like, oh, we had the same bullshit happen to us.
Yeah, here's a possible solution. So I'm glad you got to meet them. I'm glad you got to meet Blockhead. Also, when is he bringing up Goldzilla?
You're gonna have to talk to Walkhead about that.
Go.
I've already done the. I've told him we need to do
Let's
first.
lawn dart chase off the back of Goldzilla. Let's do it.
You know, thinking about it, I
You
probably
better grip tape your ass to that seat.
I probably shouldn't have said this on a live show because now it's public. I should have just not said anything because now people are gonna.
I'll kidnap you and take you down there, son.
No, we need him to bring it up so we can do the camera car. Can you imagine how
We
cool?
can do it in Florida. There's nothing in the way, and it's just straight. We can get so much good tracking shots.
Let me go ahead and tell you right now, I'm not traveling for so long. It's going.
Did you do it? Was that it for the year?
Bro,
I'm done.
no, truly.
Yeah.
I might be done.
You're
for
not
the
a
year.
traveler. But I'm glad that you did this. I am upset that I didn't because it looks so much fun.
It is such a bow bike, y'all.
Did I just do it, Chase? It looked so much fun. It looked like so much fun.
You did.
But I'm glad you got to do it because this. I mean, anytime that we get to like introduce you to a little bit of the side of like what I'm into.
I feel like ever since we've started the Live on Two Wheels, cruisers have been getting more and more of a thing that the channel could incorporate.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't know how Harley is with doing press bikes. I don't know what their fleet looks like, but I would really love to get a Sportster S in here because I think. I mean, you already talked good about Harley, but I think you would really enjoy that bike just because of the way it squats and fits.
Well, that's one of the reasons I love the Scout is because I love that bulldog kind of thing. And
I mean, best case scenario, we'd have a Scout in here and we'd have a Sportster S in here, you know? Or, I don't know. There's a lot of content. I'm going to ask Harley if we can get some press bikes.
Don't worry. If I end up getting a new bike, I'm going to force you to ride that.
You don't got to force me at all.
No.
I've showed you.
No.
I've showed you. I will go to L.A. and ride anything I'm told to.
I have tried for years for you to do a first ride on the Bolt. And now it's dying, so it's like it can't be done.
The opportunity is
You
gone.
waited years. I've had that bike since 2015.
I have no excuse for that. I'm so sorry.
All right, well, let's wrap this bitch up so I can get home.
Okay,
you can go home.
so final thoughts. I think the Sportster S is a phenomenal motorcycle for non-Harley riders that like sport riding and want to dip their toe in a cruiser-esque platform. I don't really consider it a cruiser because to me, cruisers are the big old thing. This is that muscle cruiser, a sport cruiser, whatever you want to call it.
I'm looking forward to then?
What?
Them building other bikes off, like other Sportsters.
I mean, sorry, what?
Other Sportsters. Like I want to see an actual cruiser version using the motor.
I'm not...
like a new Iron 1200.
I don't want to get in trouble.
Uh-oh.
Hold on. Let me give me a moment. Let me think about how to say this.
Uh-oh.
Harley did not confirm or deny what future plans for more entry-level models may
a new Iron.
be. I think I can say that.
A new Iron.
They didn't tell us anything.
I've been saying it for weeks now. I'm like, this is just the beginning. Wait till you see the rest of what the Sportster is going to come out with. Let's do it.
Okay, so
let's do it.
As a from the position I'm coming from, I think Harley is making some phenomenal moves for the first time in 12 years of being in the motorcycle industry. I am interested in what Harley's doing.
Yeah.
This is literally the first time where anybody where somebody could say something Harley Davidson, and I'm like, say what they're doing, you know, like that's the first time. And I think there's a lot of people in our space that are feeling like that. Yeah. And I'm gonna be really interested once this thing starts hitting dealerships. People can go and sit on them, do test rides, or do like the demo ride thing.
Yeah,
I think you're gonna see. I think Harley, honestly, is going to bring in a whole new segment of people. Yeah. I don't think they're going to sign on for this, like, ooh, Harley Davidson, BBB. They're going to be like, no, it's a Sportster S. This is what I do.
I think that's the smart way. I think that's where the market is going. We've discussed this before.
Yeah.
Is people care less about the name and what you bring to the table.
Value more
for
about
money.
What they're on top of.
Value for money.
And guys, with that, cheers to the last Harley Sportster S live show.
Oh, that looks really gold.
That does look really gold. Okay, so that's 3 episodes in a row. That's all we've got, guys.
We're done. We're
done. We're gonna end it with
unless we get one in here. Yeah.
Even then, what else can we say? You guys tune in tomorrow. We don't typically put videos out on Saturdays, but we're gonna publish the press video tomorrow, and
it's not a review.
Based on how we grabbed all the footage and the assets that they got some really cool assets. Yeah. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do a press release video, a press launch video. I'm gonna take you guys through what I experienced through that entire day. We're gonna talk a little bit about the bike, and then the way we've decided to run it is we're going to do a review, maybe the next week, maybe a week after that, of taking all of these thoughts that I had. I even gave myself notes.
All of these thoughts right here.
Yeah. We're going to take all of those notes, and I think the best way to do it is put it in like a succinct video that gives you guys just the review on the bike. So we do have a couple pieces of content coming out about the Sportster S, and then if we're lucky enough to get one in the shop, obviously we'll do a lot more content at that point. I know a lot of you guys were asking if we're going to do a first ride on it, and I'm very particular about if I call a video a first ride, it's going to be our first ride status, and we can't do that unless we have one in the shop.
Yeah.
So anyways, guys, hopefully y'all enjoy the video. Hopefully you enjoy the live stream. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you guys are still here on the live show, make sure to hit that like button before you head out of here.
Yep.
And I appreciate you guys tuning in on a Friday. I know it's kind of off schedule. Next week, totally normal. Thank Jesus Christ. We will be back.
We won't be talking about the Harley.
We will not be talking about the Harley Sportster S. We will be here at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, and we look forward to hanging out with you guys. I look forward to Thursdays, man. It's a fun, cool thing for us here, and we really appreciate you guys hanging out or just listening. However you guys are taking the content in. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it too. And
I'm going to cut you off again just to piss that one guy off. So there you go. Have a good day, guys. See you later.
Later, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Play the outro this time.
I'm going to play the fucking outro this time.